Hey, book lovers, and welcome back to another deep dive here on the Book Summary Podcast.
Always a pleasure to be back.
Today, we're going to be tackling a classic that's been on a lot of your request lists.
Oh, yeah.
As a Man Thinketh by James Allen.
Oh, good choice.
If you're new to the channel, this is where we take a book and we really unpack its core message.
Dive deep into it.
Exactly. And if you find this deep dive helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe.
Yeah, that really helps other people find the channel and discover the power of these great books. So it's a quick way to pay it forward, right?
Totally.
You know, it's amazing how As a Man Thinketh was written over a century ago, but it's still so relevant today.
I know.
It's like a timeless blueprint for building a better life.
Totally. And I mean, the title alone, As a Man Thinketh, it gets you thinking right.
Yeah.
And Allen, he doesn't waste any time getting to the heart of his message.
No, he doesn't.
Right from the start, he lays out his central premise.
Which is,
as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
It's such a simple statement.
Right. Yet it's packed with profound meaning.
I know, I know.
He's essentially saying that our thoughts are the seeds of our reality.
Yeah.
What we focus on, what we dwell on, what we believe.
Yeah.
All of it shapes who we become and what we experience in life.
So it's not just about positive thinking, though, right?
You're right.
It's deeper than that.
It's not about putting on a happy face
Oh.
and pretending everything is perfect.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that our thoughts have real power.
Okay.
They create a ripple effect that extends outward,
Interesting.
influencing our actions, our circumstances, even our health.
Okay, so walk me through that.
Okay.
How do thoughts actually shape our reality?
Okay, think of it like this. Every thought we have is like planting a seed.
Oh,
If we're constantly planting seeds of negativity, doubt, and fear, what kind of harvest do you think we'll reap?
probably not a good one.
Probably a life filled with those same things.
Right. So our thoughts create our feelings. Our feelings drive our actions, and our actions shape our circumstances.
Exactly.
It's like a chain reaction.
A chain reaction. And Allen doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either.
Oh, really?
He talks about how negative thoughts can actually contribute to disease and decay,
Oh, wow.
while positive thoughts promote health and vitality.
Okay.
He uses the analogy of a garden.
Okay.
Just like a gardener tends to their plants, weeding out the unwanted and nurturing the desired.
Yeah.
We need to tend to our mental garden as well.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really interesting to me.
Yeah.
He gives that example of the 96-year-old woman
Right.
who looks incredibly youthful because of her positive outlook on life.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty compelling evidence that our thoughts can have a direct impact on our physical well-being.
Absolutely. And it connects to what science is discovering about the mind-body connection.
Oh, really?
Stress, which is often fueled by negative thoughts, weakens our immune system,
Oh, wow.
disrupts our hormones, and contributes to all sorts of health problems.
Makes sense.
On the flip side, cultivating positive emotions like gratitude, joy, and love
Yeah.
actually has the opposite effect.
Interesting.
It strengthens our immune system, lowers our stress hormones, and promotes overall well-being.
Wow. So it's not just some woo-woo self-help stuff.
No.
There's actual science backing it up.
Exactly. And this is why Allen emphasizes self-control as a key to mastering our thoughts.
Okay.
We can't always control what happens to us,
Right.
but we can control how we react to it.
Okay.
We can choose to focus on the positive, to find the silver lining, to maintain a sense of hope,
Yeah.
even in the face of adversity.
I like that.
And that's where true power lies.
So it's about building that mental muscle,
Yeah.
that ability to choose our thoughts rather than letting them choose us.
Precisely. And this is a skill that takes practice.
Definitely.
Just like learning to play an instrument or mastering a sport.
Yeah.
It requires effort, dedication, and consistency. But the rewards are immeasurable.
Okay, so we're starting to see how our thoughts shape our character and influence our health.
Okay.
But what about our circumstances?
Right.
Can we really think our way to a better life?
That's a great question. And Allen's answer is a resounding yes.
He does.
He argues that we attract the circumstances we consistently think about.
So if we're constantly dwelling on lack,
Yeah.
we're more likely to experience lack.
Exactly.
And if we focus on abundance, we're more likely to attract abundance.
Exactly. Allen uses the examples of the poor man, the rich man, and the employer to illustrate this point.
Okay.
The poor man is consumed by thoughts of his poverty.
Okay.
The rich man is confident and expects abundance.
Right.
And the employer, who once was a kind and just man, becomes obsessed with making money.
Oh, wow.
taking any shortcut he can find until he's eventually brought to ruin.
That took a turn.
Each of their situations, Alan argues, is a direct result of their habitual thoughts.
Okay, now I'm starting to see how this all ties together. Our thoughts create our beliefs. Our beliefs shape our expectations. And our expectations influence the actions we take and the results we get.
It really is.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It really is. And this is why Alan emphasizes the importance of having a central purpose in life.
Okay, purpose.
Yeah.
Now, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
I think a lot of people struggle with finding their purpose.
Right.
So how does purpose play into all of this?
Well, think of purpose as your compass.
Okay.
It gives you direction, it helps you prioritize your actions,
Okay.
and it provides a sense of meaning and fulfillment.
Right, so without purpose, it's like drifting at sea with no destination in mind.
Exactly. And when we lack a central purpose, our thoughts become scattered.
Right.
And we become vulnerable to worry, fear, and aimlessness.
And Alan is very clear that purposelessness leads to failure.
Yes.
Not just failure in the sense of not achieving specific goals,
Right.
but a deeper kind of failure. A failure to live a fulfilling and meaningful life.
Yes, and he contrasts this with the individual who has a clear sense of purpose. Their thoughts are focused, their actions are aligned with their goals,
Yeah.
and they experience a sense of inner satisfaction that comes from living a life of intention.
So finding our purpose, aligning our thoughts with it, that's the key to unlocking our potential.
Exactly, and this is where the idea of self-mastery comes in.
Okay.
It's about taking control of our thoughts, choosing to focus on what's important,
Yeah.
and cultivating a mindset that supports our goals and aspirations.
Okay, so we've talked about the power of thought,
Mm-hmm.
the importance of purpose, and the idea of self-mastery.
Right.
I'm curious, how does all of this translate into actual achievement?
That's a good question.
Is Alan simply saying that if we think positive thoughts and have a clear purpose, we'll magically achieve everything we want?
Not quite. It's not about wishful thinking.
Oh.
He's emphasizing that achievement requires effort,
Okay.
but the effort is more effective and the journey is more fulfilling when our thoughts are aligned with our goals.
So it's like having a powerful engine in a car.
Yeah.
You can drive aimlessly and get nowhere fast, or you can have a destination in mind and use that engine to get you there efficiently.
That's a perfect analogy.
I try.
And Alan goes even deeper into this idea of effort in the next chapter, exploring the specific thought factor in achievement.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
But before we dive into that, I want to remind everyone that we're just scratching the surface here.
Right.
As a Man Thinketh is packed with wisdom,
It is.
and we'll be exploring more of it in the next parts of this deep dive.
Yes, we will.
So if you're enjoying this exploration,
Yeah.
make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay tuned for the rest of the series.
It's a book that truly has the power to transform your life if you let it.
Exactly. And speaking of transformation in the next part, we'll be unpacking Alan's insights on how our thoughts influence not only our personal achievements,
Right.
but also the way we impact the world around us.
Looking forward to it.
It's going to be fascinating.
Definitely. Welcome back to our deep dive into James Allen's As a Man Thinketh.
I'm ready to dive back in.
Last time we were talking about the power of purpose.
Yeah.
And I think that leads perfectly into this next section, where Allen really challenges us to look at the role our thoughts play in our successes and our failures.
Okay.
You know, I think a lot of people would rather not examine their failures too closely.
Yeah. I can see that.
But Allen doesn't let us off that easy, does he?
Doesn't seem like it.
No, he doesn't, and there's a good reason for it. He says all that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. That's a pretty bold statement.
It is, but it's also incredibly empowering.
Right.
Because if our failures are the result of our thoughts, then that means we have the power to change them.
Exactly. And that's where the idea of self-responsibility comes in.
Okay.
Allen is a firm believer in the idea that we are ultimately responsible for our own lives.
Okay.
We can't blame our circumstances, our upbringing, or other people for our failures.
Right.
We have to own them.
That can be a tough pill to swallow, though, right?
It definitely can be.
It's easier to blame external factors than to look inward and acknowledge our own role in our struggles.
Yeah, much easier, but it's also incredibly liberating.
Okay.
Because once we accept responsibility for our lives, we empower ourselves to change them.
Okay, I see that. But how does that actually work in practice?
Yeah.
How do we go from blaming external factors to owning our failures and using them as fuel for growth?
Alan talks about this in the context of helping others.
Oh, interesting.
He uses the example of a strong man and a weak man.
Okay.
The strong man can't just give the weak man strength.
Yeah.
The weak man has to develop it himself.
It's like that saying, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
Exactly.
Okay.
True help lies in inspiring others to cultivate their own strengths and potential.
Okay.
And this applies to ourselves as well.
Right.
We can't just wish for success. We have to cultivate it through our thoughts and actions.
So it's about empowering ourselves and others rather than enabling dependence.
Exactly.
I like that,
Yeah.
but it still seems a bit abstract.
Okay.
How do we actually cultivate success through our thoughts?
Alan provides some specific guidance here.
Okay, good.
He talks about the need to rise above slavish animal indulgence and embrace self-control.
Okay. What does he mean by slavish animal indulgence? That sounds a bit harsh.
It does sound a little harsh, but he's referring to the tendency to give in to our lower impulses.
Okay.
Things like laziness, greed, anger, and lust.
Right.
He's not saying these things are inherently bad,
Okay.
but he argues that when we allow them to rule our lives, we become slaves to them. We lose our ability to think clearly and
Yeah.
make choices that are aligned with our highest good.
So it's about mastering our desires rather than letting them master us.
Exactly. And he connects this to the idea of bestiality.
Bestiality.
He's not talking about the literal definition of the word, but rather the tendency to act purely on instinct without thought or consideration for the consequences.
So we need to evolve beyond that animalistic state and embrace our higher nature.
Yes.
The part of us that is capable of reasoned self-reflection and conscious choice.
Precisely. And this is where self-control comes in.
Okay.
It's about developing the discipline to say no to our lower impulses and yes to our higher aspirations.
It sounds like this requires a lot of willpower.
It does, but Alan believes that willpower is like a muscle that gets stronger with use.
Oh, okay.
The more we practice self-control, the easier it becomes.
So it's a gradual process of building that inner strength, that ability to resist temptation and stay focused on our goals.
Exactly. And this is where the idea of aligning our thoughts with our aspirations comes in.
Okay.
Alan argues that success requires sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
We have to be willing to give up something in order to achieve something greater.
Okay, that makes sense. But what kinds of sacrifices are we talking about?
It could be sacrificing immediate gratification for long-term goals, sacrificing comfort for growth, or sacrificing unhealthy habits for a healthier lifestyle.
So it's about making choices that support our higher aspirations, even when those choices are difficult or require us to step outside of our comfort zone.
Exactly. And Alan emphasizes that these choices are ultimately driven by our thoughts.
Okay.
If we believe that we are worthy of success, if we believe that we are capable of achieving our goals, if we believe that the sacrifices we make are worth it,
Yeah.
then we are more likely to make those choices consistently.
It's like that saying, whether you think you can or you think you can't. You're right.
Exactly. Our beliefs shape our actions. And this brings us to a fascinating point that Alan makes. He argues that the universe favors the honest, the virtuous, the pure in heart.
Okay, now we're getting into some spiritual territory.
We are, but it's an important part of Alan's philosophy.
Okay.
He acknowledges that dishonest or selfish actions may appear to succeed in the short term, but ultimately the universe supports those who align themselves with goodness and righteousness.
So in a way, aligning ourselves with our highest aspirations also aligns us with the laws of the universe, bringing us greater success and fulfillment.
Precisely. And this alignment extends not only to material success, but also to intellectual and spiritual achievement.
I think a lot of people might dismiss that idea as being too woo-woo.
Yeah.
But I find it incredibly inspiring.
Yeah.
It suggests that we're not just isolated individuals striving for our own personal gain.
Right.
We're part of something larger, and our actions have ripple effects that extend outward, impacting the world around us.
Absolutely. And this idea is beautifully expressed in the next chapter, where Alan explores the power of visions and ideals.
Okay, visions and ideals. This is where things get really dreamy.
They do, and this is where Alan makes that famous statement, "Dreamers are the saviors of the world."
I love that quote. It's so inspiring. But what does he mean by that?
Yeah.
Are we all supposed to become artists or activists?
Not necessarily. He's talking about the power of visionaries, people who
Yeah.
can see beyond the limitations of the present and envision a better future.
So it's about having a vision for something greater than ourselves.
Yeah.
Something that can inspire us and motivate us to take action.
Exactly. And he argues that every great achievement, every significant advancement in human history began as a vision in someone's mind.
Oh, wow.
Think about people like Columbus, Copernicus, and Buddha. They all had a vision for something different, something better, and their unwavering belief in that vision ultimately brought about profound change.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this connects back to the idea of aligning ourselves with the laws of the universe.
Uh-huh.
When we have a vision that is rooted in goodness, when we are driven by a desire to make the world a better place,
Yeah.
it's like we're tapping into a source of power that is greater than ourselves.
Exactly. And that power is available to all of us.
Really?
Not just the great figures of history. We all have the capacity to dream,
Okay.
to envision a better future, and to take action to bring about that vision.
That's so empowering.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people struggle with the taking action part.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the dreaming and the visualizing,
Right.
but actually making those dreams a reality can feel overwhelming.
It definitely can be, and that's where Alan's emphasis on self-mastery comes in again.
Okay.
He encourages us to not only cherish our visions, but also to align our thoughts and actions with them.
So it's about bridging the gap between dreaming and doing.
Uh-huh.
It's about taking concrete steps to make those dreams a reality.
Exactly, and this requires discipline, perseverance, and a willingness to step outside of our comfort zone.
Okay, so we've talked about the power of thought, the importance of purpose,
Right.
the role of vision, and the need for self-mastery.
Yes.
Is there anything else we should keep in mind as we embark on this journey of creating a life that reflects our highest aspirations?
There is, and this brings us to the final chapter of As a Man Thinketh, where Alan explores the concept of serenity.
Serenity, now that sounds like a welcome destination after all this talk about effort and self-control.
Yeah.
It does.
What does Alan have to say about serenity?
He describes it as the flowering of life, the fruitage of the soul,
Oh, wow.
the ultimate expression of a life well lived.
So it's like reaching the summit of a mountain after a long and challenging climb.
Yeah.
You get to enjoy the breathtaking view and savor the feeling of accomplishment.
Exactly, and he emphasizes that serenity isn't something we just stumble upon.
Okay.
It's a result of consistent self-control and right thinking.
Right.
It's about mastering our minds, choosing thoughts that elevate us, and aligning our actions with our highest ideals.
So serenity is the culmination of all our efforts, the reward for our dedication to self-improvement and spiritual growth.
Exactly, and it's a reward that is available to all of us, regardless of our circumstances or past experiences.
That's incredibly inspiring.
It is.
It gives me hope that even though life is full of challenges and setbacks,
Mhm.
we can still find peace and fulfillment if we're willing to put in the effort to master our minds
Mhm.
and align ourselves with our highest aspirations.
It does, and this reminds me of something we haven't talked about yet.
Oh, really?
Alan's view on how this all connects to spiritual achievement.
Okay, I'm interested to hear more about that. But before we do, I want to remind our viewers that if they're enjoying this deep dive into As a Man Thinketh, they should hit that like button and subscribe to the channel
Yes.
so they don't miss the next part where we explore serenity and spiritual achievement in more detail.
It's truly fascinating stuff, and I think you'll find it incredibly insightful.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into As a Man Thinketh.
It's gone by fast, hasn't it?
It really has. We've covered so much ground,
We have.
from the power of thought to the importance of purpose and the pursuit of our visions.
Right.
Now I'm really curious to hear more about what Alan has to say about serenity
Okay.
and spiritual achievement.
So Alan believes that true spiritual achievement is the natural outcome of holy aspirations.
Okay, holy aspirations.
Oh.
That sounds pretty lofty. What exactly does he mean by that?
Well, he's referring to aspirations that are rooted in our highest ideals. Things like love, compassion, wisdom, and unity with the divine. It's about striving for something beyond our ego, beyond our personal desires,
Okay.
and connecting with something larger than ourselves.
So it's not about seeking personal gain or worldly success,
Right.
but about aligning ourselves with a higher purpose.
Exactly. And Alan believes that these aspirations, when nurtured and pursued, lead to profound spiritual growth and transformation.
So how does that happen?
He suggests that those who dwell in noble and lofty thoughts and embrace pure and unselfish intentions
Okay.
will inevitably reach a state of spiritual fulfillment.
It sounds like he's talking about cultivating a sense of inner peace and connection, a sense of belonging to something greater than ourselves.
Precisely, and he argues that this inner transformation is reflected in our outer achievements as well.
Oh, interesting.
He writes, "A man is literally what he thinks his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts."
Okay.
So as we cultivate these holy aspirations, our thoughts become purer, our actions become more aligned with our values.
Yeah.
And our lives become a reflection of that inner transformation.
It's like that ripple effect we talked about earlier.
Right.
Our thoughts create our reality, not just in terms of our personal circumstances, but also in terms of the impact we have on the world around us.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the concept of serenity.
Okay.
Alan describes serenity as the flowering of life, the fruitage of the soul. It's the ultimate expression of a life well lived, a state of being that radiates from within.
You described it earlier as reaching the summit of a mountain. What does it actually feel like to experience serenity?
Alan suggests it's not just the absence of hardship,
Okay.
but a deep-seated inner peace that arises from self-mastery
Yeah.
and an understanding of the laws that govern the universe.
Okay.
It's about finding that sweet spot where our inner world is in harmony with the outer world.
So it's not about escaping the challenges of life,
Right.
but about developing the inner resources to navigate those challenges with grace and equanimity.
Exactly. He uses the analogy of a shade-giving tree in a thirsty land or sheltering rock in a storm
Okay.
to describe the serene individual. They possess an inner strength and stability
Yeah.
that allows them to weather the storms of life without being swept away by them.
That's such a beautiful image.
Yeah.
It suggests that serenity isn't just about personal peace.
Right.
It's about becoming a source of strength and support for others as well.
Precisely. And Alan emphasizes that this inner strength isn't something we're born with.
Okay.
It's something we cultivate through consistent self-control and right thinking.
Right.
It's about mastering our minds, choosing thoughts that elevate us, and aligning our actions with our highest ideals.
So serenity is the culmination of all our efforts, the reward for our dedication to self-improvement and spiritual growth.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
the final beautiful blossom that emerges after years of tending to our mental garden.
And he reminds us that this blossoming is available to all of us, regardless of our circumstances or past experiences.
Yes, he does. He concludes the book with this powerful message. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him.
Wow. So it's not about being immune to the challenges of life, but about developing the inner strength to meet those challenges with wisdom and resilience.
Exactly. And I think that's a powerful message to end on.
It is.
It reminds us that we have the power to create the lives we desire.
Yeah.
Lives that are filled with purpose, meaning, and ultimately serenity.
This has been such a rich and insightful exploration of As a Man Thinketh. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of the power of my thoughts and the potential I have to create the life I want.
Well, that's fantastic to hear.
And if you, our listeners, are feeling inspired to transform your own lives through the power of thought,
Yes.
don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Book Summary Podcast for more deep dives into life-changing books. And if you've already subscribed, share this video with someone who you think might benefit from it.
That's a great idea.
It's a simple way to spread the wisdom and inspire others to create the lives they desire.
Sharing knowledge is one of the most powerful ways to create positive change in the world.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into As a Man Thinketh.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep thinking big, keep dreaming big, and keep creating the life of your dreams.